Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I see a lot of people joining us today. We're so happy to have you here with Dr. Monique McHenry, who is going to talk us through our two courses on our cannabis programs, the Cannabis Science and Medicine Professional Certificate Program and our Professional Certificate in Cannabis Plant Biology. So we've got a lot of information to get through today. I do want to share with you, and I know we've seen a lot of chat going on this morning. Feel free to ask questions in that chat box. I will do my best to monitor those questions throughout the presentation. We will have a time at the end to make sure that if we have not answered your question, that we'll give that time also at the end of the presentation. So, and yes, there is a recording. Great question. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. There is a recording happening. So we will share this presentation to everyone who has attended today and everyone who has signed up to attend that maybe couldn't join us. We will share that in the next couple of days after we are finished with today's presentation. So we've got a lot to cover. So let's get to it. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Nicole DeWillier-Fenton. I work in our Continuing and Distance Education Department. And I'm going to facilitate the conversation today. We have a lot to get through. Dr. Monique McHenry is joining us today. We'll learn a little bit more about her background in just a minute. We will go over the two programs, and one of the programs, the Cannabis Plant Biology Professional Certificate, is a new program to UVM, so we're really excited to talk to you about that today. We'll talk about the difference of the two cannabis programs as well. And what is happening in the cannabis industry? I think that probably could be a question we ask on a daily basis. There's a lot of activity and really interesting things happening in the cannabis industry. So we're going to dive a little bit into that and what that means related to our courses. What is evidence-based cannabis education? Probably the most important phrase that we can say today. And what does that mean from UVM's perspective, and what does that mean for your course? We have had a lot of different roles and career types and career changers taking the cannabis science and medicine course already. So what kinds of roles are drawn to this information, and what maybe could be some opportunities there related to those courses? And the course logistics, and we're going to take a quick look at Blackboard, which is our online learning platform. I'll do a live demonstration and take a look at what that is, give you a little bit comfort level in terms of if this is your first online course, what does Blackboard look like, and what are some of the key elements that you will be interacting with if you do decide to take one of our courses. And as I've mentioned, questions are welcome throughout the presentation. So I'm so fortunate to have Dr. Monique McHenry joining us here today. She's taken a quick break from over at Larner College of Medicine, and she is a botanist with a background in plant diversity and evolution, the director of the Medical Cannabis Center for Research and Education, co-director of the Cannabis Pharmacology course at UVM Medical School, Larner College of Medicine, and co-founder, you can see she's very busy, co-founder of the CASE Institute, a plant-based pharmaceutical research enterprise, which is where that cannabis evidence-based research will so come into play in the work that she does. So it's incredibly important to what we do here. So let's talk about the two courses. We have a course that was established in 2016, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, so our first course is out of the Larner College of Medicine, so it's a partnership between UVM's Continuing and Distance Education and Larner College of Medicine. It is Cannabis Science and Medicine. It's a 7-week online course. I won't read each piece of these slides, but quick overview looks at the history, looks at policy, looks at plant biology, effects on humans, pharmacology, research, a key component as to what we do. There are some requirements in our cannabis courses, 18 years or older, bachelor degree, completed college level foundational science courses in biology and chemistry. And what I'd like to do is hear from Monique as well. What is the intention of this course? When you were talking about setting it up and looking at the curriculum and the goals of this course, what were you trying to accomplish?
Well, so we designed the course to provide a foundation of the scientific and the kind of technical background to understand both the risks and the benefits of cannabis use therapeutically today. And we hope that participants can then take that knowledge and the information that they've learned in this cannabis science and medicine program and to gain a competitive advantage as a knowledgeable, say, like medical provider. then they can effectively minimize the risks of patients that they have that are using cannabis, as well as maximize the benefits of patients that might be using cannabis that they're seeing on an everyday basis.
Can you walk us through just a quick overview of some of the different modules? A quick overview of history and policy and plant biology. Just walk us through just a high level. What are some of the things that people will take out of this course?
Sure. So the history one, we go back to about the time when cannabis was hypothesized to be used in different methodologies, so in religious or in therapeutic uses. And again, here we're using that evidence-based science, so we're only reporting on theories and ideas that have been published in peer-reviewed literature. And then we walk it all the way to today, talking about some of the different socio-political events that happened, as well as modern medical discoveries in cannabis. And so that's history. And then law and policy is, well, that's ever-changing, because the law and the
Right.
policies ever-changing.
Yeah.
And then plant biology and the pharmacologies, we just are giving a basic overview for the science and medicine program on that. And then we delve into 3 clinical conditions for science and medicine. And we do talk about the production and safety a little bit too. So we talk about how some of those products that people are seeing on the shelves and their patients are taking are made, and what are some safety concerns about them. And we go over all of the different states' regulations. So we're focusing on North America here and on the US. And we're talking about how the different states are all regulating and treating medical marijuana.
And we'll talk in a few minutes about the fact that varies, and it's a little challenging, I think, for folks to keep up with the difference as well. So I do have a couple questions coming in. Look, that is helpful. Somebody did share with us. Thank you, Pat, that Monique's microphone is a little low. We just moved it a little closer. Hopefully that helps.
Well, actually, I could just say, is this better?
Is that better? Maybe somebody can give us a yay or a nay. Looks like a couple. Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is what we really appreciate, interactive webinar. So there is a question here, and I have a feeling that we get these kind of questions a lot in terms of current careers and how they could see it translating into some of the work that they do. We have a question from Jeffrey that says, I'm a veterinarian. Do you feel the medical course would be beneficial?
Well, yes. We don't have a specific module on animal science, although we have been in conversation with a veterinarian recently who would like to participate in the course as an instructor who has some information and some experience with cannabis and veterinary treating animals. But for basic pharmacology, and then all those things we just talked about, like history, policy, to have a better understanding of it at that level, and then as well as pharmacological level, but we are focusing on humans when we're talking about human pharmacology. So we have had vets take it. We've had pretty much every human medical profession, from dentists to physical therapists, and then different types of providers, medical providers as well.
That's a great answer. Thank you. And thank you for that question. I do have another question, which I think we also get this, and sometimes the circumstances may elicit a different answer. But Matt asks, I have not completed any college level chemistry. Am I still eligible? Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, we sure do get that question a lot, Matt. Thank you for asking it. So the suggestions we give to students is we do permit students in the course as long as they will be responsible for gaining that background information if it's needed. So basically we can't on the side be providing that remedial information for students, but we haven't had any students say, hey, I came into this course without the required background information and it was too hard. Usually people can rise up to the challenge, and there's usually a very diverse audience of a cohort that starts the course together, and they help each other because we do a lot of peer learning. And so, if there's no dumb questions in our course, because, when you have veterinarians in the course, with dentists in the course, with horticulturalists, you're gonna have
big perspectives.
A big perspective. And it's amazing because you have this great depth of knowledge of people coming in broad areas.
I think that's one of the amazing things about our online courses too, is that you really do, and we'll demonstrate that a little bit in a quick look at the discussion boards, but you have an opportunity to really collaborate with your peers in your course.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are now finding, they would recommend this course for the networking alone.
Right. Very
Mhm.
good point. So I see a few questions coming in as well related to the plant biology course. So let's take a quick look. Let's move over as well. So as I said, this is new for us this year, and this is in partnership with the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences.
Right.
And so this is our cannabis plant biology course, a professional certificate course as well. A slight variation that this is 8 weeks, still online. It covers in the first modules, goes over very similar points in terms of the history and the policy. But then it dives deep into the actual chemical makeup of the plant and the processing and everything really from seed all the way to potentially sale or implementation, whatever you're doing with it. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's definitely accurate. So it's the same theory where we design the course to provide a scientific and technical background, but in this case, instead of thinking about how the products are going to be affecting the human body, we're thinking about how the products were made. So how cannabis is grown and turned into those therapeutic products.
And so that's a great, I think, differentiator of the two courses. Do you get that question a lot? And I think we're seeing too, I'm interested in Enrico asks, I'm interested in plant crossbreeding. Which course would be better?
Print. Well, definitely, if you're more plant and agricultural minded, I would say the plant biology course is going to provide a lot more information. As we're talking about, they both cover that history, law, policy, um, as well as business.
Yep.
And then they do both cover a basic pharmacology, so human pharmacology and how cannabis is interacting with the human body, and the science and medicine course covers plant biology as well. But then the science and medicine course, goes into depth about how cannabis is affecting the human body, while the plant biology course goes into depth about what factors are affecting the plant.
Yeah.
And so, what
Interesting.
changes the way it's grown,
Yeah.
the types of chemicals that are produced,
Harvesting different practices, I
Harvest-
would imagine. Storage.
storage.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And then when when you're trying to find a label and safely labeling a product, you have to think about shelf life. So we go into more depth about consumer safety on the
Plant biology side.
the plant biology and manufacturing side.
Thank you for that. And thank you very much already for these great questions. Keep them coming. We're going to keep moving just to be mindful of time. And I think Monique just alluded to that a little bit as well in terms of labeling different practices. I think kind of across the board. I don't necessarily think it's the Wild West, but it might feel a little bit like it. I would imagine for some people thinking of getting into the industry, where do you start? And so what do you, in your opinion, related to the courses, what is the state of the cannabis industry? And then how, I know, right, it's such a big question. But how does that potentially relate to what we're trying to accomplish in these courses for our students?
Right. Well, if someone asks, what's the state of the cannabis industry? I'm saying, well, what industry?
Right.
Because right now you're talking about medical marijuana,
Right.
because we're focusing always on the medical or therapeutic use. And then you could be talking about CBD or industrial hemp.
Right.
And so, if we're focusing on CBD and industrial hemp, because it's so fascinating right now what's happened in the last 6 months, 8 months,
I know.
is, industrial hemp right now is no longer on a controlled substance. So it's no longer, essentially regulated by the DEA. And so the FDA is now picking up that regulation, but they haven't come out with anything but more like
Recommendation, like
recommendation.
soft,
Yeah.
yeah. So nothing's really set.
So it is the Wild West. There is no federal regulation of CBD products, and they are everywhere.
Yeah, they are.
So that can be problematic. And if you just Google it, or if you look online, you see shocking claims that you have investigative reports from news that saying they've tested products and they don't have CBD, or they tested products and they, if we get into the medical marijuana field, have way too much THC.
Yeah.
And then
some CBD products, some have THC, and you find all kinds of different cases where that's happening too. And the people weren't intending to do that, and then there's ramifications because they test positive for various different things. So it really is really interesting.
Yeah, we've done some of that research ourselves, and we found that about 50% of the products don't really have accurate labels. So they're either under-labeled, so they're claiming they have more CBD than they do, or they're over-labeled. And in nascent states and industries like Vermont, that number gets down to probably below 20% are accurately labeled.
Oh my goodness. And how do you touch upon some of these pieces in the course, especially in the plant biology? I think when you're talking
Right.
about actually to shelf and what that means, and looking at the different labeling regulations across the country, because they also vary by state.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, for the plant biology course, we do give state by state compilation
Yeah.
summary on their rules and regulations for industrial hemp.
Yep.
But there aren't rules and regulations really for CBD yet, because that's going to be a federal FDA thing. It just hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So what we talk about is we talk about testing, so analytical testing at the different points. We talk about what happens to products based on the peer-reviewed literature, because there are articles out there that have done storage trials, mostly forensic, and talk about what different conditions, like does light cause CBD to change.
Yeah, just what's the effect of light on CBD? Yeah.
And THC, they're looking at that too. And interestingly, what it seems like is THC is not really shelf stable, especially under light or high temperatures.
Yeah.
But CBD seems to be a little bit more. And then we're doing some of that research ourselves at UVM, so we augment what's published right now with ongoing research that we're doing. Just to give the students the most information they can have, so they can make the safest decision for the consumer if that's the route they're headed in their career.
And we'll get to, I think we keep referring back to evidence-based and research. And so that's such an important part of what you do, I know, every single day. And so we'll get to that in just a minute. I do have a few questions coming in, so I want to pause for just a second. We have Richard asking, as an orthopedic surgeon, I'm interested in pain management for my patients. Which focus would be applicable for me? I'm going to move my mic over so that you can hear a little bit better.
Sure. So pain management, and so he's asking which
pain management, which he's interested in pain management, so which focus would be applicable for him? So would there be one of those courses that would be better for him?
Right, so that would definitely be more science and medicine course, because in the science and medicine course, we do have an entire module on cannabis and pain. So we, represent the compiled evidence-based literature on science on cannabis and pain and pain management.
So then, oh good, yep, Robin, thank you very much for letting us know that the mic was still, hopefully that we're hearing a little bit better, because we're sharing a mic now. So Constantine says, when you refer to harvesting process, are you talking about industrial methods for big quantities of hemp?
So the harvesting processes we're referring to are, I'd say, medium-sized. It's not as big as some of these very large scale, because what we're basing it off of is our harvesting practices in Vermont. Right. That's what we have access to. The video feed we have is from our own extension farm and greenhouse harvests and storage. And then the storage, data we're collecting and talking about can be applicable at any level, right? Because it's more the exact environment it's being stored in, what light it's exposed to, what temperatures.
Right. And so the scales can change.
The scales can change, yep. But we do not go into the technical harvesting equipment that's in progress right now. I mean, that's one of the things that needs to happen in this industry is you need to have a streamlined, mechanized harvest, because a lot of it's done by hand right now, especially in these craft industries. But since Vermont is still very much more a craft market, our focus is a little bit more on craft than very large scale.
Interesting. Thank you. I didn't know that perspective, so that's really helpful too. We'll get to a few more questions here in a moment. I do want to move over, because we have talked a lot about the incredible importance from our perspective too is evidence-based research. And you've referenced that there isn't any information that you aren't putting forward that isn't published, that isn't have science and research and data behind it. Can you define what that means in terms of this course and what the students will learn from that?
Right. Well, actually, Nicole, you just did an excellent definition. So
I've been working with you.
It's like we're not talking about traditional information. That's not unvaluable, because we're coming from a land-grant university and the College of Medicine. We're talking about information that is not traditional, intuition, or anecdotal. We're not unproven methods, right? What we're doing is science-backed data.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's a differentiator of our programs versus other programs that are out there.
Exactly. Yep. There's a lot of programs to choose from now, but ours, is taught by scientists. for science-minded professionals. So when you bring it back into, is the fact that I don't have a chemistry degree or chemistry background going to, affect my ability to take the course? The answer is no, as long as you're willing to figure out that knowledge you need to be able to understand the evidence-based data we're presenting to you.
Awesome. That's a great way to describe it. Thank you so much. And we do have a slide up here right now that I think is a nice segue into some of the things that you've been talking about as well. We've had a variety of people. Take our course, and again, the Cannabis Plant Biology Professional Certificate course is new, launching in a little less than a month, about 3 weeks, October 2nd, I believe. And so we have great examples of folks that have taken the cannabis science and medicine course. And what I find really interesting, and this is just a quick look at some of the different roles and careers that have already taken the course that may help you to think, oh yeah, that's me, or that's an area that I'm interested in. And I find it really interesting, the broad spectrum of people that have been taking this course. Has that been your perspective?
Oh, yes. It's one of my favorite things. When we get the final roster of people who have made it into the course for the, semester, just to see their different backgrounds and think, wow, this is really cool. I remember the first time we had our first physical therapist, and now we get lots of physical therapists in every cohort. But I was thinking, oh, that's great. Just have different people and different backgrounds and the way they're thinking about it. And then we'll have the dean of a college of medicine. I'm thinking, well, that's fantastic, because they probably don't really need to change their career. They're not planning on it, but they just want that knowledge so that they can better educate people in a different college of medicine.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. We have a few good questions coming in as well. I think this is a great one. Matt asked this question: would I be able to come to UVM to do some hands-on training after I pass the course? Do you ever get that question?
We do. We do. Actually, our assistant for the course, Taylor, he just gave a tour to one of our old students in the science and medicine course who found out we were doing some research here on campus with cannabis. And he said, hey, can I come get a tour of the greenhouses? And we said, sure. And then we've had a couple UVM, College of Medicine, medical students take it.
Want to see what's going on.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily involved in that curriculum yet, the education for cannabis. And so they take the certificate course and then they get involved in the research. So we've had a couple summer research projects too. Yeah.
That's great. So there's opportunity. Maybe not getting your hands in the dirt, but maybe, who knows,
we never turn down people willing to do that.
Right. So Matt, maybe we'll sign you up for a little assistance in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
We have a question as well from Eric. It looks like, is a TA or FAFSA accepted for these courses? What is that?
Can you help us understand that, Eric?
Eric, help us understand what that acronym means. We'll wait for that, and then we'll kind of come back to that. Oh, now we're echoing. Oh, and Matt says, I love Vermont so much. Thank you, Matt. We do too. While we're waiting for Eric to give us a little bit of clarity as to what he means by that acronym, let's move on for a second. I know we've talked a lot about the logistics of the course in terms of what was the intent, 8 weeks, 7 weeks online. Again, this is just I think this is a great diagram to really understand kind of the cycle of information that is happening in the cannabis science and medicine course. Again, Monique talked about the history and the law, and then it moves into the biology and production and safety and clinical research for pain, like we were talking about. So it really gives this full spectrum of trying to understand what is happening on the science and more focus on the medicine side. A quick overlook here is that both courses actually start October 2nd. And so you can see the cost of the course. There are discounts for different UVM affiliates, so please reach out to us if you're interested in taking advantage of that. And you can register for any of our courses, but learn.uvm.edu. As we mentioned in the beginning, financial aid, FAFSA, of course, thank you. We'll get back to that in just a second. So we will share this presentation back as well. So let's just keep going for a second. The plant biology course, as we mentioned, is new this year, and it's in partnership with the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. And so it touches on very similar topics in terms of the history and policy, but then you can see the kind of rotation of the information that dives much deeper into the growing and the processing and the actual science behind the plant itself. Did you want to comment on any of those two different things that related to the two different courses? I bet you get a lot too. Is there overlap? Should I take one? What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so those questions are just starting to come in now because
Yeah,
we're
because
just
it's new,
offering
right?
it, plant biology
Right.
for the first time.
Yep.
And so the answer is yes. You could take both. I've had a couple former science and medicine students say, "Should I take this
Yeah.
one?" And I would suggest a different order and kind of a different
Mm.
methodology. You could take both,
Yep.
but there is overlap, especially in those beginning modules. So if you're looking at your screen, let's see, it's those
Yep. The
yellow and
history. Yep.
orange
Yep.
and green
Mm-hmm.
or dark green
Right.
before you
Right.
get
Right.
into the other
Yep.
ones.
Yep.
And then, the cannabis science and medicine
Mm-hmm.
really, narrows in on how cannabis affects the human body, while the cannabis plant biology one really narrows in on how things affect the plant. So my suggestion, if you thought you wanted to take both, is take the cannabis plant biology course
Yep.
first. And if after that course you feel like you really want to learn more about cannabis and the human body, we have
Mm-hmm.
standalone modules, which we're
Yep.
not really mentioning in this webinar, and we
Right.
don't have a slide for, but they're on our website, and you can take a la carte um, those,
Yeah. The
and
modules.
they're broken down into different clinical
Mm-hmm.
conditions. So you could say, I want to learn more about cannabis and pain, and just take that individual
Module.
module. Now you won't get that whole networking piece.
Right. And the
And
discussions and their cohort and
discussion.
everything.
But it would be a good way for you. You could take one and say, I really like this. I would like a couple more of them. Maybe I'll sign up for the Cannabis Science and Medicine Certificate Program.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's a great suggestion. And I love the flexibility. I'm always impressed with how flexible, and we try to really accommodate what students' needs are, fitting within the curriculum too, but really trying to be flexible to meet students where they are. And so we were also just talking a little bit more about the logistics behind the cannabis plant biology. And again, there is a 20% discount for UVM affiliates and alumni if you have taken, and as Monique was saying, that some alum of the cannabis science and medicine are interested in plant biology, so there's a discount there. And thank you. I'm surprised that neither of us, you can tell we're a little bit on the spot today, but FAFSA is financial aid. And so, and I don't know, I think that might be something that we could have, we could follow up with you on in terms of military discount or financial aid for these particular certificate programs. Yeah. So why don't you shoot us an email? We have in our, I think that was Eric that was asking that as well. Eric, we have our email in there, learn@uvm.edu. Why don't you shoot us an email? Let's connect you with our advisor for this particular program so that we can get you the information that we need for military and or financial aid for these programs. So I want to just take a minute while, and please, keep the questions coming in. Oh, there's Jacqueline asking a great question. Please discuss continuing education credit claims for national professional boards or the ability to justify the coursework for an employer. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that, or maybe we
Well,
can?
we do. And
Great.
so originally we offered cannabis CME, so continuing medical education for a whole slew of medical
Yes.
professionals. And the interest levels weren't super high in that. So we aren't currently accredited as continuing medical education. I think it was 7.75 hours that
Hmm.
you would get. But it is something where there's enough interest we could work with people. But right now we don't have that continuing medical education accreditation.
Great.
Um, and, you know, for your justification for your employer, I think it helps that we were. So we did go through those
Mm-hmm.
standards to be,
Yeah,
accredited,
accredited. Mm-hmm.
and that we are evidence-based, so that if your employer happens to be in the agricultural sector, we're using evidence-based data to provide you with the most up-to-date compiled information.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're a medical professional, it's the same thing. And
Right.
we did have those accreditations.
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much for that response. And I'm going to take a quick look at, I want to show you Blackboard because it's an important piece of what we do for online learning. And I'm just going to take a quick look. This is the Cannabis Science and Medicine. And if you have not taken an online course yet, I just want people to feel really comfortable in what is this platform that you will be engaging with. And this is a previous course, so you'll see things are a little bit older from, you'll see a message from Monique back in June. But just a really quick overview, what you can find and how easy it is to navigate this kind of platform. You can learn about the professors and the instructors, and then you can look at the syllabus as to what it is that each week and what you're going to be accomplishing. And then really you can get into the meat of it. And this is where online courses are really wonderful if you're busy, as we all are, if you're a working professional. These are on your time. oftentimes there will be an online course that may have a discussion, a live discussion on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. That is always recorded. So if you are taking online courses through UVM and you see something like that, it's fine because it's recorded and then you can use it on your own time. So these modules are really important for you to look into and start seeing what it is we're going to do this week. Who's teaching it? What does it look like? And then I'll just take a quick look inside. There's a lot of videos, and what's so great about these is you can go through and watch everything that you're trying to accomplish for this particular week in this module. And then what I've always found really helpful is when I start diving into the assignments, I go back to those particular videos that are talking about, an integral piece of that assignment so that I can refresh and then I can make sure that when I'm tackling that assignment that I really have everything that I need. The class discussions are in there, the assignments, the reading materials are in there for assignments, presentations are in there. The other thing that's really fantastic about our online learning platform is that you will always have a time estimate. And it varies in terms of the different things that you're working on. So for example, as I was kind of scrolling down here, this first section of Module 3 is estimated to be about 32 minutes. And so it's really important as you're starting the course and you're starting that, okay, I know the module is going to start on Tuesday for the next week. And so I'm going to get in there on Sunday or Monday and take a look and say, all right, how much time do I need to carve out by these different modules? The assignments, you see a list of the assignment in each module, and then you can dive deeper into the actual assignment here. When it's due, what are you trying to accomplish, and what are your expectations for the assignment? Probably my favorite part about our online courses is the opportunity to really engage not only with your instructor, but also with your classmates. And I'll just take a quick glance, wanting to be sensitive of materials that students have posted in here, but these are discussions that people are having with each other in addition to the instructors. Monique is in there monitoring and commenting and talking with you. And so you really get an opportunity in our online courses to engage not only with the instructor and the staff, but with each other. In fact, it's encouraged. It is a requirement to comment and to post and to be engaged with your cohort. Is that true?
Right. So there is a little bit of social media component where you're posting your answers, your evidence-based answers, sometimes with your own experience, like you'll be comparing past knowledge with what you just learned, and then we want people to interact. So you read each other's, and we start off with an introductory bio, and in that, everyone usually comments. It's how the students meet each other, and then every other week we either have a live discussion where we have a live presenter at a specific time coming in to do a live seminar, and students are interacting, asking questions, or we have a peer-based learning experience where it's an asynchronous class discussion, and you can post at your own time. If it's 3 a.m, we've had students from Thailand who are 12 hours different.
Right. So yeah, of course.
So it is kind of at your own schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such an important piece to keep in mind about our online courses is that it's really built to be flexible for you and with you. And I think what I have found so many times in taking online courses is that, and maybe from your perspective of being faculty, you end up having these really engaging conversations because essentially, there's no real bell here with courses, but the bell doesn't ring.
Right.
It's not done at, 7:55. You can engage with these conversations with your students beyond the time that the class essentially is done. Is that true?
Definitely. And most of our cohorts then form some kind of other social networking, like a secret Facebook page, or some of these things that I don't really know that much about. So maybe you can augment
different
my
groups and stuff too. Yep.
Don't have that
LinkedIn.
down. Yeah. And they'll meet up. So if there's a couple students from California, they end up touring each other's farms or each other's medical practices. So they find other ways to continue it. Yeah.
That's great. And I think that that's true across many of our online courses. So we've got a couple other questions coming in. Let's see. We have a question that says, I graduated from Penn State with a BA in Communication Science and Disorder. My goals for the future include manufacturing products that could help me with speech disorders. What courses do you think would be appropriate for me to start? Which course would be appropriate to start with?
So that probably sounds like another cannabis science and medicine.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because the word start was in there, and I just described the sequence where you should take plant biology first. But when you're talking about anything that's human related, I think it that cannabis science and medicine just delves so much deeper into how cannabis affects humans. Whereas the plant biology course, there's a module on agriculture, there's a module on post-harvesting, there's a module on, extraction, and there's not modules on specific human conditions.
Hopefully that answered your question. I do see a few more questions coming in. I want to be mindful of the time. We do try to wrap up a little bit after 30 minutes after the hour, but I want to be respectful for any other questions that are coming in. While we're waiting, because I did see a few folks typing, I'm curious, just what are you've been teaching the cannabis science and medicine. What are you excited about with the new course?
Oh, well, I mean, my background is in plant biology, and we've always had plant biology people in the science and medicine program because, it was the first one out there really, and they just wanted to learn more about it, even if they were, director of cultivation for one of these multi-state operators. So now, and they always ask, when are you going to offer a course that's your background? And so now we're finally doing it, and it's been so fun putting it together. I think we have a really exciting course. It's, much more hands-on, even though it's online, because it's really video rich. And, we can really show these processes, these agricultural techniques, extraction processes and methodologies. So I'm excited to see what kind of students take it. If I think it'd be really neat if some medical professionals took it, and then we'd have that diverse background again.
And you spent a lot of time in the greenhouse. You spent a lot of time in the greenhouse here, and I've seen you there numerous times. What are you doing in the, what are you looking at? I know it's all in relation to thinking about how you're presenting things for the course, but what are some things that get you excited about research related to cannabis?
So I am more excited about the plant-based questions. That's my background. The other faculty in our center are definitely medical professionals and pharmacologists, and I am in the Department of Pharmacology. But the questions I'm asking are more plant-based, and some of them are. For example, we have a study that's ongoing right now that's talking about looking at different light spectra and how that affects the chemicals produced. As well as just a seed variety trial of trialing all the different genetics that are available in the Northeast today, and growing them under a little bit different conditions and seeing, what chemicals they end up producing. So the secondary metabolites, what chemicals does this plant produce, and what can we do to change that?
Right. Well, you'd have an opportunity to learn from Dr. Monique McHenry and this amazing group of faculty that feels so passionate about the evidence and the science and the research behind this plant, and what it can do for us and for hopefully animals as well and beyond. We do have a couple quick questions. We have a question: what certification would the program include once graduated? What is it? Meaning there is a certificate that comes at the end of the program. I don't think that there's anything else that goes along with it.
Nope, it's just a professional certificate. That it's you're not earning college credit for this program. You're earning a professional certificate.
And I think Dario is also asking, what is the job opportunity? And that's at once graduated, what is the job opportunity? I think that's a really interesting question. And you and I have talked a lot about that too. And I think the slide that we showed earlier looked at, and you know what, I'm happy to go back to that too. It looked at the varying different roles that have come in interested in these courses. And I think that while saying that, could you then take these certificate programs and go be a health coach? Can it apply to massage therapy? Can you become a cultivator? The answer is probably yes. I mean, it's really what you want to do with it, right?
Those exact three professions. I've just heard back from somebody who is a health coach, and they've incorporated that into incorporated their knowledge, right? So now if people have questions, a lot of medical providers, but specifically health coach and massage therapists, if people have questions about what's going to happen to them while they're taking this, or medical interactions with other medicines, they can take that knowledge and then they have it, and they can better serve their patients. And some people take the course to then go educate other people too, and we're completely open to that.
I've seen that
we would love to be the teacher teaching other teachers.
So absolutely.
Great.
So I think it's really where you want to go with it. I think is really what maybe your background is and where your area of interest. Oh, Matt says he wants to assist with anything in the greenhouse, so it looks like we can sign him. We have another question. How often are these courses given? And so we can talk about the plant biology. So this is the first time that we're offering the plant biology, and the plant cannabis science and medicine also start on October 2nd. Do you know what the schedule is for the next round?
So usually we offer them in the spring semester and then
Fall.
again in the
Fall.
fall semester. So we'll offer it again in the spring.
Great.
Yeah.
And so then we have, Paul says, hey, I'm planning on starting a marijuana business. May I know which course would be well suited for me? Both. So
That's
kind of
probably a
depends,
case-
right?
Yeah,
where
that's
you're,
probably a case where, you know, Paul, just from what I've been hearing in the industry lately, it seems like there's a lack of qualified cultivators. So I would suggest the plant biology course first, just so you can get that baseline knowledge yourself, that you could pass on to your employees. And then if you would like to augment, you know, additional how cannabis affects the human body, then you could take those modules from Cannabis Science and Medicine a la carte.
Right.
Or you could join the Cannabis Science and Medicine program, because there are a lot of, you know, entrepreneurs that we've seen taken
Yes.
that. I don't have the comparison knowledge of the plant biology course because we haven't had
Right.
anyone take it yet. But there are a lot of people who are looking to start up businesses in this industry, as well as better serve their patients.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We also have a question, any courses next semester? I think we answered that, so we'll offer this again in the spring semester.
2020,
Yeah, which
yeah.
essentially for us, spring is January, which we maybe do, are we March?
We usually wait till about April.
Yeah, so it's a little bit off in terms of what you would maybe deem as a semester. Yeah, because these are
Exactly.
non-credit, these are professional certificate courses. This is an interesting one. Any class, either one of them address growing with LED or QB with or without IR and UV?
So Nicole, I'll let you
Oh,
answer that.
those are so many.
No, I know those acronyms. So, but so
Yeah, right, you
I'm
try
just
that
by
again.
memory, because I
Yes,
can't see
growing
them.
with LED,
LED, yeah.
slash QB with or without IR and UV. Anything,
Yes.
I
So
would
we
imagine
do-
plant biology addresses that?
Yes,
Yeah.
the plant biology course definitely addresses it in two separate modules. So we do have a presentation on chemical plant production, and we talk about how different light sources, like if you're introducing UV or if you're growing with LED, would change the light. And then we have a presentation on controlled environment agriculture. And again, there we talk about how changing the light source will affect the development of the plant.
Great, thank you so much. Such a wealth of information. I always learn so much when I talk with you. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
So thank you, everybody. I do see just a few logistic questions coming in. What are the steps after we register and pay for the course? You will get a notification that you are in, that you're registered. You will get a setup for your ID to get into Blackboard. There will be opportunities to take a demo, quick demo of Blackboard. I know I showed it briefly. I know that was super, super fast. So you'll have an opportunity to get really comfortable with the online learning platform. And then you will get a notification that the course is open. And anytime I get that, I love to jump in and take a look at what's coming and look at some of can I get started on any of the reading? Can I take a look and see what's happening? So that is pretty typical in terms of how we kick off our courses. Jess asks, and then we'll start wrapping up, how challenging would this course be without a biology prerequisite? If you haven't taken it. So we talked a little bit about that.
And I think that just all depends on your attitude.
Yeah,
you know, we are presenting this information for you to learn. Just a quick logistics then. To earn a certificate, you do need to earn a 70% or better.
Right.
So you do have to do the work.
Right.
But I think if you came in with less background knowledge, you might have to work a little bit harder to get that baseline knowledge up to par if you didn't have any biology. But it will just be more richer experience.
Right, absolutely. What a positive, wonderful answer. Thank you so much to everyone who asked really wonderful questions today. We appreciate your engagement and your interest in both the Cannabis Science and Medicine and Professional Certificate and the Professional Certificate in Cannabis Plant Biology. Both are starting October 2nd. There has always been a full course for the Cannabis Science and Medicine. In fact, there's been a wait list. And so at the moment, we still have seats open in both courses, but that often changes. And so I would recommend, if you're interested, jump on the website, either put in your email address for inquiring about information to make sure that you're getting notification as the time is ticking down for that registration to close, and or jump in there and register today, because we will have a full class, and it will kick off October 2nd. Thank you so much, everyone. We also appreciate all of your time and your patience with our microphone, and we appreciate you letting us know. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks.